pull up a chair. This is Off the Back Porch. Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer is brought to you in part by Country Village Sporting Goods. Everything you need to get in the woods, the water, or to the camp is at Country Village Sporting Goods. Jason Hardy State Farm. Like a good neighbor, Jason Hardy at State Farm is there. And Larry's Pizza in El Dorado, home of the Double Pizza Parade.
20 plus years of bringing you the most important and latest information with local happenings, news, sports, opinions, and probably an attempt at humor. Also brought to you in part by Davis Farms Country Market. For farm to table fresh, it's Davis Farms Country Market. Cook's Body Shop. Chances are it will happen. And when it does, look to Cook's. Murphy Arts District. For the latest information on concerts and events, go to eldomad.com.
Recorded live from Main Street Pizza in historic, beautiful downtown El Dorado, Arkansas. With a history of being the voices you trust. This is Off the Back Porch with Boomer and Sandy. Or Sandy and Boomer. Or two old guys you've known for a long time, whatever. And now your hosts, Troy, Boomer, Barrios, and B.A. Sandy Sanford.
Hey, welcome to this week's edition of Off the Back Porch. He's Boomer, I'm Sandy, and we're glad to have you here with us. And of course, we're here live again, Boomer,
live
at Main Street Pizza in beautiful historic downtown El Dorado, and I love this place.
Yeah, great place to be. Is where the locals come to eat, and we just had a nice pizza and some. I had some tea. I don't know what you were drinking.
Yeah, I had sweet tea, unsweet.
Sure.
Yeah, I stuck my finger in it. That made it sweet.
Well, I smelled it. It didn't smell like sweet tea, but if that's the story you want to go with.
It smelled like Friday night at Bandini's. I'm just saying.
Bandini's. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a whole.
That's a whole other story.
So, hey, we've got some pretty big announcements coming up for SouthArkansasNow.com, and one of which is we are going to stream the El Dorado High School graduation from beginning to end.
That's what you were telling me. That's great news.
I think that's going to be a fabulous thing. And matter of fact, if I could figure out a way to do that all the time, I'd never go to another one.
Do you have a senior?
Not this year, no.
She'll be next year?
She'll be a senior next year, yeah. And then I still got 2 more after that.
After that, yeah, but that'll be another 15
They'll wheel
years.
me out there in my wheelchair, you know. So, hey, but that is coming up. That's May 19th. We're going to stream that live, and it is being sponsored by the Tom Cotton for U.S. Senate re-election campaign. And so they've provided all the fees that we have.
You talking about Tom Cotton that I see on Fox News?
That's
Tom
him.
Cotton?
That's him. Yeah.
And he sponsored you?
Not me.
I mean,
sponsoring the kids.
Well,
it's for the cheering.
But I mean, South Arkansas Now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
He's doing that. So
how'd you pull that off?
That's secret. I can't tell you that. That happened
behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors. That's right.
Well, good. I'm glad you were able to get that done.
Boomer, have you ever lied?
Whatever you were going to say.
Yes, I have, and I was proud of it. As a matter of fact.
No, what? I'm sorry.
Have you ever lied to your kids? Don't cover your microphone.
I'm sorry.
Nobody hears
Do I have to tell you the truth?
No, I mean, I'm just. Yeah. I have lied to my kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just a little, little white lies.
Yeah. So, just
itty bitty things.
So, here's what happened to me. This past weekend, I made this casserole for us to eat. Now, these children, these ungrateful little ingrate, feral, mongrel children.
Yours?
Yes. Okay. Who are supposed to have mine and or their mom's DNA, right?
Yeah.
They don't like biscuits and gravy.
How can that be?
I have failed. I have failed as a parent.
Well, you have.
They don't like biscuits and gravy. Well, number one, they've never been poor.
No.
That's obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, because biscuits and gravy has never let me down.
No, that's a staple.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of in there with ramen noodles.
So I knew they had bad taste when I listened to their music.
Oh, heavens, yeah.
So, but anyway, they don't like biscuits and gravy. So I make this casserole the other night, and I line the bottom of the pan with biscuits.
Okay.
With raw biscuit dough. Mm-hmm. And then I had some pork sausage I made.
Yeah.
And I put that in there with a little bit of cheese. And then, that sausage had left some grease in the pan.
You poured that on
I
there.
took a little flour put in there.
Oh yeah, made you a little gravy.
Started with a roux,
Yeah,
and made a little homemade white gravy.
yeah.
And but I couldn't tell them there's gravy on it, or they wouldn't eat it. So I make their plates. They're sitting at the table, and the munchkin looks over at me and says, what is this, Daddy? And I said, hey, it's just a little casserole. I put some sausage and some biscuits and some cheese, and I made a little white cream sauce to go with it, and which is technically true.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what a gravy is. It's a white cream sauce, but I didn't call it gravy.
Yeah.
I just said it was a white cream sauce.
Okay.
Put it on there, and then I topped it with biscuits and popped it in the oven, and she's like, well, it's really good. And she just ate it up, and some of the kids had seconds.
Okay.
And so my wife gets home from work, and she goes in and gets her some of that, and she's like, I'm actually surprised that much of it's gone because they don't like biscuits and gravy. I'm like, hey,
Easy.
ixnay
Ixnay
on the gravy gate.
Excuse me.
So I told her my deception.
Yeah.
I told her what I did.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, that's okay. You have to do that kind of thing with children.
So she looks over at the munchkin, the 17-year-old, and says, so how'd you like that casserole? It's good. She said, even though it was biscuits and gravy. And she said, with that whole, I'm 17 and I know more than you
things,
do.
yeah.
Mom, it wasn't gravy. It was a white cream sauce.
White cream sauce.
And my wife just let that hang there for a minute. And the munchkin was like, Dad, tell her. I was like, So if the munchkin grows up with trust issues, we know where it started. I lied to her about that gravy.
So at 17, that's the first time you've lied to her?
Probably.
You think?
I'm sure.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
You want to go with that? Let's go with that.
Ah, well, there is that whole, y'all leave me and Mom alone. We're going to be here talking about your Christmas presents.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different subject.
Don't go to bed.
We're talking about your Christmas presents.
Yeah.
Y'all can't come in. But, parents do tell lies to their children.
Well,
For example,
Yeah.
if you eat a watermelon seed,
It's going to grow out your belly button.
it'll grow in your tummy and come out your belly button.
Yeah.
It's illegal to have the dome light on in the car going down the road.
Yeah.
That's another lie.
And when they get to Munchkin's age a little bit, you say, if you kiss a boy,
You'll end up pregnant.
you'll end up pregnant.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I used to tell her, I'd say, because she was in like 3rd, 4th grade, and she had a little boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
And she was so excited / ashamed one day. She told me they held pinkies,
Ooh.
and I was like, "See, that's how
That's how
it starts." I said, first you hold pinkies,
Mm-hmm.
then you start hugging,
Then before you know
then
it,
you're kissing,
and you're pregnant.
and next thing you know, you're touching butts, and that's how babies get here.
You said touching butts.
Yeah. Well, it's because she would see me when I would hug my wife. I'd reach around and pat her on the butt.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're touching butts, and that's how babies come.
Yeah.
So, and I think she believed me for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing.
At school, they were like, so this is sex education class. Welcome to 8th grade, and this is how babies are made.
That's not what Daddy said.
Daddy said y'all got to touch butts. That's how babies get here. So, but I mean, there are a lot of lies that parents tell their kids. If you don't clean your room,
Yeah.
your toys will come to life and bite you while you sleep.
Yeah. Or the quarter and lose a tooth, the pillow thing,
Yeah.
It's a tooth fairy.
Trying to think some ones that they told me. Every time you tell a lie, a puppy loses a leg. That's one that parents tell everywhere.
A puppy loses a leg.
Yeah, you had never heard that? Well, the other one is every time you tell a lie, a cat loses its tail.
Okay. I don't guess I've heard that.
Oh. Sheltered you.
I've heard if you tell a lie, with the Pinocchio thing, your nose will grow. I've heard that one.
Yeah, but everyone knows that.
But your nose ain't going to grow.
Everyone knows that's not true. But, as a kid, when they tell you things like, if you don't eat your supper,
Yeah.
a third world dictator will eat a newborn baby.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah, like somebody's going hungry. And then third,
And some dictator in another country will eat a newborn if you don't eat your supper.
They say that? That's one?
Ted and Hattie never told you that?
Not a third world. I mean, they said, someone's going, there's children starving across the world, and you won't eat your liver and onions. Oh, my God.
If you sit too close to the TV,
Yeah, you'll go blind.
no.
What?
A clown will come out and bite you on the face.
No, where'd you hear that?
Everybody heard that as a kid.
No. That's not true. Everyone didn't hear that.
Somebody lived a sheltered life.
I heard your eyes. It'll affect your eyes.
I mean, I guess it could. I guess I could see that. Here's one. I know you heard this because everyone's heard this one. If you disobey your parents, your shadow will think of ways to kill you when you're not looking.
Sandy, have you telling your kids this?
Of course I have.
Did you get told that?
Well, you think I made it up? Yes, that's what I was told as a kid.
Man, that explains a lot. Other people don't say that. That must be something passed through your generations.
Huh.
Is that
now,
do you have more?
I think that was pretty much them. I mean, step on a crack.
Break your mother's back.
Oh, no, that's not how I remember it. Step on a crack and a puppy dies. That's what I remember.
Here we are, puppies again. Oh, my Lord, Sandy. Please don't be telling your children these things.
So far, so good. I've never had to go get one of them from jail.
Well, I know that's true, but I've seen your kids. They kind of flinch every time you're around.
They do not.
Yes, they do. Sandy tells a lie, his children flinch.
I can say this.
Yeah. No, you have good kids. I got
they are good kids.
Both sets.
Yeah, the 1.0s and the 2.0s.
Yeah,
that's what they call themselves.
I forgot that. Yeah, I couldn't remember their nomenclature for that.
But one can be out on a baseball field, and I can just give them a quick whistle, and they immediately know to look at me.
Yeah.
They find me wherever I am.
Yeah.
They can be in school, and this has happened, in a lunchroom.
Yeah. You blow them a little whistle. They
looking for me. Every other kid in there don't look.
So did you use a healing stick or something on them?
Nah, just
how did you get them to do that?
Taught them early on. You hear that whistle, you find me.
That's you look for me. That's
so,
good. All right.
Okay, well, I hate that you lived such a sheltered life.
I did. I must have.
You didn't know those very normal...
Those puppy things.
Those very...
losing legs and dictators eating them when... Lord, no wonder they look at you when you whistle. Daddy, don't send me to the dictator third world country. Oh, please. I'll behave.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boom.
Life happens. And sometimes that means life throws you a curveball and someone hits your car. You don't have the time, the energy, or the inclination to deal with it. That's why Jody Cook and Cook's Body Shop is here. Whether it's an insurance claim or some cosmetic work you've been putting off for far too long, check with our friends at Cook's Body Shop. They are the official body shop partners for the Off the Back Porch podcast. When it happens, look to Cook's.
Grammy Award-winning Train, live. August 27th, the Mad Amphitheater in El Dorado, Arkansas. Train with special guest Edwin McCain. On sale now at eldomad.com. Presented by Save Me San Francisco Wine Company.
Welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, right. maybe that wasn't tea in my cup after all. I don't know. So, hey, do you ever go read threads on Reddit?
On Reddit?
Yeah.
Is that something that old people do? Because no, I don't.
No,
yeah,
I don't think it's something old people do.
Yeah, no, I don't.
They watch Queer Eye for the Straight Guy or whatever. Anyway, I
did watch that.
I remember. Also, you call Boomer's house about 7:30 at night, and you'd be like, "Hey, what you doing?" I just slipped into my gown.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to go to bed. It's late.
It's late, man.
This is off of a thread from Reddit.
Okay.
And this woman says, "I'm terrible at parenting.
Yep.
I never thought I would be this bad at it. I've tried to do everything right. I waited to have kids. I made sure I was financially stable. I married someone who was stable and came from a good family. I went to therapy for years before having kids to make sure I wasn't completely messed up.
Yeah.
I made sure to have my fun and live my single life. I worked hard on myself. But despite all this, I'm terrible at parenting. I'm always getting overwhelmed. I'm depressed all the time. I get frustrated and impatient. I'm angry a lot of the time. I did even more therapy and got on meds, but they just kind of get me by. Therapy gives me more and more coping mechanisms, But the root of the problem is the kids. That's what she said.
After all that, the root of the problem,
are the children. Is the kids. I say, duh. Welcome to the team, sister. Because let me tell you, parenting would be great if it wasn't for kids.
Well, yeah, it'd be real easy if you didn't have children. You know, I mean, you can give a lot of other people advice about how to do things if you've never done it.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Mm-hmm. You know, but before kids, I didn't have to eat in the bathroom. Yes, I have eaten in the bathroom because it was the only place I could have
hide from
peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Daddy busy. Go away.
Daddy.
Yeah. Daddy, why does it smell like brisket? You don't want to know. Do a courtesy flush, Daddy. That smells like ribs. But when it comes to bad parenting, I do have a very true story to tell. So one of the kids, the 1.0s, he had some allergies, and it started this bad cough, and we're giving him all this over-the-counter stuff, and it's nothing is making the cough go away. We're just, it subsided a little, but it never actually went away. And this goes on for like a week and a half or so. And then this one particular Sunday, I hear him coughing, and I was like, we've got some cough medicine. You know, I know you're not supposed to keep medicine past, you know, you're supposed to get it and you're supposed to use it. And if you don't, you're supposed to dispose of it properly. But I don't know, maybe we're weird, but we hold on to stuff like that.
I kind of do myself.
And so in the medicine drawer in the kitchen, I knew there was some cough medicine in there, liquid cough medicine. Probably had some codeine in it. I thought, well, he'll sleep, you know, and I won't have to eat in the bathroom. And so I go get the medicine. Hey, come here. He comes in there, and now the label is so wore off, I can't even read it. You can see it's a prescription because it's got the little blue line at the top and at the bottom, you know, but I can't read how much, but I'm figuring 10 milliliters, you know, he's a big kid. 10 milliliters would be plenty to give him. So I get the little medicine cup out, and I put 10 milliliters in it, give it to him. He takes it, and he's like, oh, Dad, that's terrible.
Nasty.
But name me a kid who's like, that's the best medicine ever.
Give me some more.
Yeah, it never happened. Although I'm a little weird, I do like Cree emulsion. I've kind of always liked the taste of Cree emulsion. I guess that's why I like Jägermeister. No, I've actually never tasted Jägermeister.
Well, it tastes like Cree emulsion.
That's what people tell me. So I've never tasted Jägermeister. But anyway, you know, so he complains that he didn't like the taste. I'm like, get out of here and stop coughing. And so he goes on, and next day, cough's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
So it worked then.
Yeah. So I'm feeling pretty proud of myself.
Yeah.
You know, that it worked.
So it's out of date, you know, but it still works.
Whatever, it worked. And so I tell his mom, you know, hey, we got rid of the cough. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I went and got that cough medicine that was I forgot we had that cough medicine
in the cabinet.
In the cabinet in there. And she's like,
what cough
medicine? We don't have any cough medicine in the cabinet. I was like, well, we dang sure do.
Yeah,
because I gave it to him last night.
Yeah.
And she's like, we do not have cough medicine. So I go in there and get it. Like this.
Yeah.
And she's like,
oh my
God. You idiot. That is dog medicine.
Dog cough medicine?
I don't know what it was for.
It was dog medicine.
But it was dog medicine.
And it wasn't necessarily cough medicine.
I don't think it was.
So it was ivermectin or something.
Which then, you know, I couldn't be mad at him for hacking his leg and peeing on stuff in the house after that. But I have never felt like a worse parent.
Oh, my God.
Than I did then. I gave my kid dog medicine.
I mean, not like, you know, maybe a Benadryl or something, but you gave him dog medicine.
I gave him straight up dog medicine. I don't remember what it was for.
And she didn't remember what it was for either?
Neither one of us could remember.
Oh,
I mean,
Lord.
and it wasn't just 2 years old. It was 4 or 5 years old.
I mean,
so it was fermented dog medicine.
That's why it did taste nasty.
It probably did taste really nasty.
Maybe, you know, you stop and, you know, take a beat there maybe. I don't know.
I remember I still apologize to him to this day. To this day, buddy, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, we're both sorry. I'm sorry he did that. 1.0 person.
Yeah, that was bad. And that's all on me.
Well, yeah, I understand.
So,
oh God! Don't make no sudden moves like that. You know I'm jumpy. You know I'm a jumpy person.
I do know that.
Don't do that. Ooh, we got so many stories about me being jumpy, and don't do that.
And there's so many we can't tell.
No,
we can't tell them. That's the biggest thing.
No.
Because as of right now, we at least pretend that people like us and respect us.
Yeah.
There will be no one who will like us and respect us.
Because we're not really that nice people.
We're not really that likable nor respectable. I promise.
That's why we're so relatable.
Yeah. Exactly right. Hey, reminder, coming up May 19th is the El Dorado High School graduation.
Mm-hmm.
It will stream live here at southarkansasnow.com thanks to the Tom Cotton campaign. And so that's going to be happening at, obviously, out at El Dorado Memorial
He's
Stadium.
making El Dorado great again.
Well, that's not my job.
Oh, okay.
I'm just here to report on it, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, but that's going to be happening May 19th. So if you have family members who are out of town and can't make it, we'll have a link that you can send them the day of graduation.
Sure.
They can go and watch it. I'm sure it'll probably be live on our Facebook page.
Okay, yeah.
For South Arkansas Now. And so we really appreciate the school district letting us do that. And we're looking forward to doing it. And we have some other huge announcements coming up in the near future. I'm really excited about, but we just can't announce them yet. But some really good, cool stuff coming up in the future.
Well, thanks. You're not going to tell me? I mean,
I can tell you, but I can't tell right now.
Oh, when can you tell me? When
Later.
Later?
Yeah, later. I can tell you later. Bad part is I already told him, he's already forgot.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, I did try to neuter my dog twice, but
That's a true story, y'all. He did try to talk about bad parenting.
I'm going to have to take that dog, get it neutered. And Sandy goes, Boomer, you neutered that dog about a year ago. I went, oh, yeah. Well, they would have figured that out when I took him up there again. They wouldn't.
But no wonder that dog was so mean. That dog was mean.
Yeah, I said, don't touch, don't pet, don't go to that fence. He's just looking like he wants you to pet him.
Yeah. He wasn't wagging his tail. He was shaking in anticipation of getting to eat you.
Well, he showed up one day
At the
radio station, and I adopted him.
Yeah.
And he kept running away.
First clue.
He just kept
Being homeless is better than living with Boomer.
Well, I mean,
He tried to have him cut off twice.
But I had some doggy shears, that were, not. I didn't go give him people medicine. I really had some dog shears that I was going to trim him with because his hair was matted and kind of long, and he was deathly afraid of it. He said, no, we're not doing that. And, I wasn't going to take him to the groomer or nothing, because I didn't want him to bite them. So I got some scissors, and, man, he had a bad haircut. You remember that? He had a real bad haircut. When he ran away, and he was over there in that subdivision right before the tracks going to the golf course, fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And I go over there, and he won't come to me. And this lady goes, are you sure he's your dog? Right. I said, if I'd have cut your hair like that, I said, you might not want to come to me.
You would run away, too.
You might not want to come to me either.
Hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer coming up after this.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Country Village Sporting Goods. The tackle department is growing, with new stuff arriving every week. And Country Village Sporting Goods has just received a new shipment of Woodhaven turkey calls. Everything you need to get you on the water or in the woods, you'll find it at Country Village Sporting Goods, 965 Smackover Highway.
Spring has sprung at Davis Farms Country Market. They're bringing the farm straight to your fork with daily deliveries of crisp local spring vegetables. Think ripe tomatoes, fresh ears of corn, the first batches of cucumbers, and more. And all of it is being grown by nearby farmers. Stop by and taste spring the way nature intended. Only at Davis Farms Country Market, 4523 Junction City Highway.
Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. And in case you haven't noticed, I have a guest who is much better looking than Boomer. And, of course, that's a bar that's set pretty low. So I have Robin Krneta with us. And, Robin, you are the executive director of South Arkansas Children's Coalition, right?
Correct.
So tell me a little bit about what South Arkansas Children's Coalition is.
So it is a nonprofit organization that oversees 2 child welfare programs. We have a CASA program, which is court-appointed special advocates, and we have the Children's Advocacy Center of South Arkansas.
Okay.
Our CASA program covers Union and Columbia counties, and our CAC, the Children's Advocacy Center, covers 8 counties from, say, Union, Ouachita, Calhoun, Bradley, Ashley, Chico, Deshay, Drew.
Wow. That's a big footprint. Now, the reason we're talking about this is April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so, we talked before we came on and said we're not going to talk statistics, but there was one that stuck out to me, and that was every 10 seconds that there's a child being abused in America. That's just how. How does that still happen in America today?
I agree. How does it still happen? And those numbers, like our cases, have increased year over year. Some of that is because the reporting is more. Some is because we're being utilized more as we've grown and covered more area. But yeah, it's mind-boggling. And the other part that I think that bothers me, all of it bothers me.
Of course, yeah.
But I think that it would be shocking to most people is statistics show that at least 90% of the kids know, love, and trust their offender. When my kids were growing up, it was stranger danger. It was, the creepy guy in the van, right?
Right, yeah.
Me and my daughter still laugh about, but that's typically not the case.
Not the case.
No.
As a matter of fact, I was watching a video one day, and I can't remember if it was a healthcare provider or exactly what, but it was someone who was supposedly an expert in their field, and they said when your children are little, if they don't want to hug Aunt so-and-so, or they don't want to hug Uncle so-and-so, or if their behavior becomes erratic or bad when they find out we're going over to so-and-so's house, pay attention to that.
Definitely. And when I speak to people, I tell them that. And I try to do it very respectfully because, we're in the South. And showing respect to the older generation, especially,
right.
and family, that is a real thing. But I tell people, do not force them to sit on someone's lap, hug someone, kiss someone, because what you are unintentionally doing is telling them they have no boundaries.
Yes.
And that is not what you want.
As a matter of fact, with our kids, we're pretty adamant about get out of their lap, even if it's a family member, and there's no reason to even have any suspicion. But it's just that thing of you need to set boundaries, and so get out of their lap, quit wallering on them, quit laying on them, that kind of thing. And it's hard because when they're real little, they don't understand. This is a grandparent or a cousin or aunt or uncle or someone they love and hadn't seen in a while. They want that closeness and that touch, but you help them learn how to set those boundaries. And I agree, you don't force them. But even more so, I think you nailed something you talked about. It's just reported more now. There was a time where those problems were considered to be in the family, and you don't step in,
That's
you don't
right.
say anything. And I remember as a child, my best friend lived across the street. His name was Ricky. He had a sister named Emily, and their stepdad physically abused them fiercely. And I remember one time Ricky having bruises all over his back, his butt, his legs, and that were caused by his stepdad. And we called Child Protection Services, and they came out and they took pictures and they talked to him and all this. And then they immediately drove us straight across the street to his house and talked to the stepdad, and he denied it. And they were like, okay, and left, But so I could understand people would say, well, that's why you don't get involved. But nowadays, that's not the case. I think now we've learned as a society, we take these accusations slightly more seriously.
We do, and it's getting better. There's still some resistance like that. Sometimes it's what happens in the family stays in the family,
right.
Unfortunately. And children are still threatened, unfortunately. But we are doing our best to bring awareness and light to a very dark situation.
Sure. So if someone wanted to help or be a part of South Arkansas Children's Coalition, what do they do?
They can call us. We have a website, we're on Facebook. They can reach out to us and say, hey, this is what I'd like to do. So like our CASA program, we're always needing volunteers. And with that program, we recruit and train community volunteers to advocate for children in foster care. And so we're always needing volunteers for that. On the CAC side, we're built on a multidisciplinary team. So we work with CPS, we work with local law enforcement, the prosecutor's office, and we all come together as a child abuse response team to hopefully provide best outcomes for the kids. That program would need more like donation items, things like, because when the kids come for their first time to the center, we, depending upon their age, if they're younger, we give them like a stuffed animal. They get to choose between that or like a blanket. If they're older, we try to have age-appropriate things for them. When they come back again, or with the first visit, or if they come back for therapy or any other services, we always provide them snacks, So
Sure.
we're always requesting items like that to keep stocked for the kids.
Of course, Boomer and I are very familiar with CASA. We actually initiated and began the MASH event, Make a Smile Happen, way back in 2003 or 4. I can't remember what year it was, but we started that event to get toys for kids who were in the foster system, obviously through no fault of their own. And I just remember some of the most heartbreaking things that we would see on those little forms that the kids would fill out about what they wanted for Christmas. And I remember seeing people who would, little kids who would put a pair of underwear no one's ever worn before.
Mm-hmm.
And that is heartbreaking.
Yes.
I mean, that is, we don't have the time today, but, I think I told you a story about a young man who had been through the CASA program and was just about to age out, and their dad had been doing terrible things to him. And he had told his little sister, or little brother, don't expect anything for Christmas. They got moved out of their house just a few days before Christmas. And then here comes a CASA volunteer with gifts from the MASH event and gave them to him. And he said to us, it was at that moment, he said, I was on a kind of a tipping point, whether I was going to be a good person or a bad person. And he said, I really think I was going to be a bad person until that moment, because he said, I realized there are good people in the world. The people who were supposed to love me and protect me weren't doing it, but there were good people in the world. And so he showed up to our MASH event. It was like our 6th or 7th one. And he's got a wife and they have a little baby, and they had this little bitty toy. I mean, it wasn't much, and it didn't matter the size, but he was so proud to give that toy. And, that's a guy whose life was changed by a CASA volunteer.
Yes.
And the generosity of others, getting those gifts for them. So that's great. So if people want to call you, that number is
870-862-2272. You can hit either extension, 1 or 2. 1 will take you to the CASA. 2 will send you down to the CAC.
Okay.
So either one.
All right. So call that number and you can find out how you can help. And again, that is the South Arkansas Children's Coalition. She's Robin Krneta. We thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be back with more of Off the Back Porch right after this.
This is a nightmare.
Someone called for a nightmare?
Hang on. That's your nightmare? Some roof damage? I'm a professional. I deal with real nightmares. You just need to sing the State Farm jingle.
State Farm jingle?
Do it!
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm can help with your claim. We're here when you need us.
Great. Can you get rid of it?
Ooh, who we getting rid of? Wait.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Everybody loves a parade, and hilarious pizza throws parades all week long. Bring the family in for your favorites, or explore the variety that Hilarious Pizza offers. Come join us at Hilarious Pizza for the greatest parade ever.
Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. And Boomer, we got a lot of stuff going on around the area.
Yes, sir. A lot of stuff happening.
One of the big things that's going on is the Magdalene House. Now, I'm not sure if people are familiar with the Magdalene House, but it's right next to the Episcopal Church.
Okay.
And the Magdalene House basically takes ladies who are in recovery, whether they're coming out of an addiction or maybe they've been in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And they can move into the Magdalene House, and they basically mentor them and help them get back on their feet.
Yeah.
And they do it at no cost to that person while they're recovering. And anyways, the Magdalene House is having a fundraiser that's going on April 24th. And so that's Thursday, the 24th from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Okay. They're going to have Shrimply the Best.
Oh, it's going to be shrimp involved.
Yeah. So they have shrimp, corn, and potatoes. And so you can get a pound of shrimp, corn, and potatoes for $25, or you can get 4 pounds of shrimp, corn, and potatoes for $90.
Great.
Now, if you need more information, of course, you can order online at magdaleneeldo.org. That's magdaleneeldo.org, or you can call 870-314-4797.
A great thing to do. Good food, and for a great cost. Yeah.
And that was brought to me by Donnie Clayton, who is the owner of the establishment here at Main Street Pizza, and where we record live every week. And So appreciate.
And had a great pizza today.
And we did have a great pizza today, that's for sure. Yeah. So what else we got going on around the area?
Well, a lot of things happening through May and the whole summer. There's some good things. I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in May. First of all, on the May the 2nd, David Crowder, who's known as Crowder now, will be at the First Financial Music Hall. Mayhaw Festival is happening the 33rd year, and I can't believe it's been that long since.
Wow.
And that's on May 3rd from 8 to 5, and that's over on Jackson Street, you know.
I thought you said it was going to be at the fairgrounds.
And I lied, because it did say that the first thing that I saw, it said fairgrounds, but I've heard commercials and I've seen publications that says it's still over there.
Okay, good.
I
was disappointed when you
Me
said
too,
that.
because it's kind of a home, you know, it feels good where it is.
I like it being on Jackson Street, so I'm glad it's back. That's going to be where it's at.
May 3rd, the Mayhaw Festival, 8 to 5. Also, the 24th Soul Fest is going to be at the fairgrounds.
Yep.
That night, starting at 5 p.m.
That's always a big event.
That is a big event. And I like, you know, if I was up past 8 o'clock, I'd like to hear the commercials for it, because the third annual Soul Fest, you know, and it's a lot of, and the names of the groups is just great. Yeah. 17th, Ted Nugent's going to be at the First Financial Music Hall. Jim Danny to the rescue. The 18th, Shonda Pierce. Have you heard of her before?
Yes,
the comedian.
The comedian.
And she's a clean comedian.
She's a Christian comedian.
Comedian. She's going to be at the auditorium at 7 o'clock on the 18th. And then on the 23rd, back here at MAD at the First Financial Music Hall, Tracy Lawrence is going to be in concert. That's be a great thing. And then on the 24th, downtown on the square, right here, Symphony on the Square at 7 o'clock, the South Arkansas Symphony Orchestra. And I want to tell you, besides when they do tributes at the auditorium or here at MAD, the downtown on the squares are the best. When they do the July the 4th thing, is really good. And I'm going to, and I know it's quite a bit off, but in August, two of my favorite groups, totally different kind of music. The Train's going to be here in August.
Yes.
And
Hey, Soul Sister.
Yeah. And I forgot their names. The something brothers. The
Everett brothers.
Avett brothers are going to be here in August. And I saw them at the it's not called the Amp, the one in Rogers that
but it's the Walmart Amp.
The Walmart Amp.
Yeah.
I saw them there, and I'm telling you, it's not mainstream stuff.
No.
And but if you like bluegrass, they're not really bluegrass, and if kind of forward music, they're a great group, and you'll like them. That's coming in August. And they'll both be at the Music City, at the First Financial Music Hall here downtown.
So for more information on that, go to eldomad.com. That's eldomad.com for information about events happening at the Murphy Arts District and at Eldomad. And of course, they also have the Madhouse has things happening every weekend.
Most every Friday night. Yeah, there's
plus great food.
Yeah. I mean, you can go and sit down and have a great meal. There's a great atmosphere there. And, you know, we've had 2 or 3 iterations of restaurants in there, and these folks are doing well.
I really like it.
And Mad 101, and I like it. And, you know, they're doing some good things and still bringing in entertainment on Friday nights, and some local people, and not always, but you know, just some good music. Yeah,
that's one of the things I loved when I moved to El Dorado was the music scene. I really liked how much music was happening in the area. I remember, you know, back in the day, Tiger Harry's, then Corner Cafe. You know, it was nothing for them to have something on Friday night, and then Einstein's would have something on Friday night, and it was just. And then Saturday was always something going on. You know, music wise downtown. Chris Loggins would in the Brass Tacks would be somewhere, and at the Corner Cafe, or you know, playing down at the Mink Eye, or Rookies, or the
it was all kind of stuff.
There was always that music, and I always liked that about El Dorado, because it just didn't really seem to matter. Whatever kind of music you liked, you could find it on any given weekend, and I miss that. I wish we had a little bit more of that. And
well, you know, there's so many great things that go on in South Arkansas, in the El Dorado area. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were looking at a list of places to retire in Arkansas. And, you know, of course, it had Buena Vista and, you know, those those places
Yeah.
where you would think retirement, hot springs and what. But El Dorado was on the list.
Yeah.
As a good place to retire. And he says, well, I don't know why anybody want to retire here. I mean, there's nothing to do here. I said, nothing to do here.
Oh, you're
I
mistaken.
said, you know, and all the things that I just named, the musical events that go on. I said, we've got one of the best in the country, not just Arkansas, golf courses at Mystic Creek.
Oh my gosh, yes.
This is like a top-notch golf course. All the and all the things that go on at MAD. We've got a playscape that there's no place the size of El Dorado most likely that has a water park like we have.
Yeah.
Like you said, all of the music that goes on downtown.
The Arts Center.
The Arts Center.
Do you realize how cosmopolitan some of the things in El Dorado
Yeah.
are for a rural town in the South?
Yeah, rural town in the
And,
South.
I mean,
putting on plays.
The plays that they put
Yeah.
on, but not just that. The corks and canvas, you
Yeah.
know, the workshops.
I forgot
that they
to
do.
mention that, the corks and canvases.
I mean, there's always something really cool happening at the Arts Center, and
Yeah.
Colleen Means, she does a great job of getting that information
Yeah.
out.
Well, and I told this guy, I said, it may not be, and he's old, and I say he's old. He's not much older than me. He's retired. I said, it may not be stuff you want to do. I said, but people like that kind of stuff. I
Yes.
said, a symphony on the square, like I was talking about just now. I said, July the 4th. I said, that is like, you might as not well watch the one going on in D.C. Just come down here and see the one going on here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
You
a lot
know,
of great things in South Arkansas.
Showdown at Sunset.
Yeah.
The reenactment of the Parker, the Tucker Parnell feud.
Yeah.
And I mean, just so many things, and also, you know, I've had family come in from out of town, and they'll walk around our downtown. They're like, "Holy cow!"
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't have empty buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And
if we do, they're dressed up.
They're dressed up, and,
Yeah.
and they're kept up. You know, we have the new daiquiri store downtown. That
Sure.
has pool tables
Yeah.
and TVs everywhere, and you know, there's a lot goes on, and you know, it's kind of that whole, well, but it's El Dorado. Okay, you know.
And I want to tell you, there's 2 or 3 places revitalized downtown, like the top of the building, the
old Murphy Oil building.
Yeah, the old Murphy Oil building.
Yes.
There's some things over there above the antique store that Buddy McAdams has done.
Yes.
You know, all of the Union Square guest quarters downtown. There are people that come down here, and you can see them. You know they're not from here because they're walking slow and they're looking up. You know,
Yes.
you know that they're looking at things. You know,
Yes.
Those of us that live here, when we walk around the square, we're not looking up at anything.
Right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I'll tell you this. The last time Grant Merrill was in town, and you and I and Grant, and we ended up talking to 2 different couples.
Yeah, they just
one was from Minnesota, I believe. and the
They
other
were
one,
heading. They were heading to. You know, they were going.
I think they were headed
heading
back
north.
home.
Yeah,
they're
They're
vacationed,
snowbirds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
down in the south, and they were headed back home. And then there was another couple, and they were from Ohio, Kentucky, somewhere over there, and you should have heard them brag on our town,
what it looks like,
on just how clean it was, and all. And look, we're like every other town. We got our problems. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but if we weren't trying to fix them, there's a lot of towns I could point out that we would look like.
Sure, yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm not going to, but
you can just drive around their squares and see what it goes.
drive around there, and that's what this would look like if these people weren't doing something. And trying.
There's several groups of people that and you know, I don't know if I need to mention any of them, but people that are looking forward for El Dorado.
Right. And you know, so I've often found though, Boomer, that the people who are most vocal and critical of things that are being done are the people who are doing the least.
Or don't participate in anything.
Yeah, they don't participate. You know, that's not always the case,
Yeah.
but often it is.
It is, yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you about the time Boomer left me naked. That's coming up right after this. Off the Back Porch. Be right back.
Murphy Arts District is excited to announce Braxton Keith at the First Financial Music Hall in El Dorado on Saturday, May 3rd. Braxton Keith is a rising country artist with a sound and style honed in Texas honky tonks. Tickets can be purchased at eldomad.com or the Mad Box office at 101 East Locust Street. Don't miss your chance to see Braxton Keith on his way up, right here at the First Financial Music Hall in El Dorado on May 3rd. Doors open at 7 with the show starting at 8.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Country Village Sporting Goods. The tackle department is growing, with new stuff arriving every week. And Country Village Sporting Goods has just received a new shipment of Woodhaven turkey calls. Everything you need to get you on the water or in the woods, you'll find it at Country Village Sporting Goods, 965 Smackover Highway.
Welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. And
we're at Main Street Pizza.
We are at Main Street Pizza. Yeah. And, you know, one, I love it.
Yeah.
Brick baked is best, as they say.
Coldest beer in town.
Coldest beer in town. And so I like, because first of all, I love a thin crust pizza.
I do too.
And but I always like that the crust is always the same every time. It's not like I don't have to tell them, hey, run that through a time and a half. You know, nothing like that. It's always the way I want it every single time. I'm very consistent, and I like that.
Sure.
So, hey, we're come back, and I told you before we went to the break.
I'm ready to hear about this.
Well, you were there.
Okay, so, I don't remember this. Of course, I don't remember a lot, but
that time Boomer left me naked.
Okay.
So we'd been out of town to do a football game, and for those who didn't know, Boomer and I used to do El Dorado Wildcat games on radio and then on television.
Yeah.
And can you imagine these mugs on television? But thankfully, most of the time you saw the field and not us. But we'd been out of town to do a ball game, and as our want normally went, when we would know we would be out of town for a ball game, we would try to get there early enough to squeeze in 9, maybe even a full 18 holes.
Yeah, play somewhere.
At some different course that we didn't normally play at.
Yeah.
So we'd play golf, and it was very hot. It was early in the season, maybe in the first or second game, and it was hot, and we got really, really hot. And then we go and we get in this glorified deer stand that this school called a press box, and it was hot. And the sun was in our face almost the entire game. And I remember at one point looking down, there's puddles of sweat at our feet. It wasn't even big enough that we could sit down. We had to stand up, you know, kind of face each other, you know, sideways. It was such a small press box. It was hot. And I just, when it was over, I felt sick. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to go to the hotel, get in my room, and Boomer's like, let's go get something to eat. I was like, no. I'm not going to eat. You can go eat. I'm not going. No, come on, man. He kept on, you know, let's go get something to eat. I was like, man, I don't feel good. I'm going to go to the hotel, and I'm going to crash and get me a shower, and I'm going to lay down. I just don't feel good. He looks at me and says, one of these days, you're going to need me to do something for you. And I'm going to remind you of this moment right here. So we go back to the hotel, and it's a swanky place too. It's like 8, 9, 10 stories tall, right? And we have rooms right across the hall from each other. And so I go in, I take my shower. Now, stay in hotels as much as I do, Boomer, and you might do this too. I, most of the time, will leave the bathroom light on and just shut the door so that, you know, as any man over 40 can tell you, you have to get up in the middle of the night and go pee.
Night, yeah.
And
have a little night light going.
At least, you know, because you're in a different hotel room, you never quite remember where you are, you know. And so...
Especially you.
I took my shower, and I just fell face first on the bed. I mean, with nothing on but what the Lord gave me. And I'm just laying there on the bed, and I go to sleep. Well, I wake up a few hours later, and I got to go pee. And it could be all the Gatorades I was slamming during the game and water and trying to hydrate, but I have to go pee. So I get up, and I stumble over there to the door, and I open it, and I step into the bathroom. And just as the door shuts behind me, I realize I've walked into the hall. I walked into the hallway.
I still don't remember this.
Okay, whatever. So his room's right across the hall from mine. I'm thinking, okay, I can at least get in his room, and then we can call the front desk, and they can come up and let me in. You know, I can go in there and get a towel, something. You know, so I'm knocking on his door. No answer. Absolutely no answer whatsoever. And I keep knocking on the door. Nothing. These two guys walk by, and they're, I don't know, they Korean, they were Asian.
Yes.
You know, and they said something, you know, in their native tongue to each other. And I think I've learned since then it was translated, you know, that's very small or something. Anyway, so I'm beating on Boomer's door, and he doesn't come to the door. He doesn't answer. And so finally I'm like, okay, I've got to figure something out. So I go down and stand in front of the elevator, and then I'm thinking, wait a minute. I'm standing here in nothing but what the Lord gave me.
In front of the elevator?
In front of the elevator. This door's going to open, and there's going to be a Girl Scout troop or something, you know, coming to get off this elevator. Okay, so I hightail it to the stairwell. I get in the stairwell. Now, remember, I've still got to pee. And what am I going to do? I'm not going to pee in the stairs, you know. So I'm like, I see a trash can like the next floor down. So I run down there, I pull the lid off the trash can, I look, and there's these 2 Old Milwaukee cans. And so I filled them both up, sat them down, closed the lid. So I keep going, open the door to the stairwell to every floor, looking, and what I'm really looking for is like a
towel.
Yeah, basically anything. But what I'm really thinking is if there's a maid's cart.
Yeah, a maid's cart.
Or maybe a room service, tray or cart, something. Get one of them fancy tablecloths and wrap it around me, like a toga or something, but nothing. And I mean, I've now made it down to the second floor, and I'm stood, and I open the door and I look down that hallway and I see 2 pizza boxes. So I run down there and I grab the pizza boxes and I put one in front of me and one behind me. And then I make my way into the lobby, and I'm standing over behind a fake ficus tree, looking around, making sure no one's coming in. And I run up to the front desk, and the poor little girl behind the desk nearly scared her to death. She's like, can I help you? And I was like, yeah, I'm Sandy. I got myself locked out of my room, and I'm in room number 704, whatever it was. And I said, I just need somebody to let me in my room. And she's like, I'm sorry, sir. Do you have any identification? I said, yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I left it in my other pizza box upstairs. My ID's in my room. Just let me in the room and I can give you. Well, she wasn't having it. Now, look, to her defense, I get it. A fat, bald, naked guy has run up with pizza boxes.
Wants to get in a room.
Wants her to let him in a room. I totally understand, okay?
Yeah.
So about then, I look up. Guess who comes walking in? I'm not going to say names. I'm going to point and whistle. So here comes Boomer, and it's him and one of the assistant coaches. They went out and got him something to eat. And I'm like, oh, thank God. It's like, Boomer, will you please tell her who I am so they will let me back in my room? He looked me dead in the face and looked at her and said, I've never seen this man before in my life. And walked off. Thankfully, one of the other coaches comes walking in. He's like, Sandy, are you okay? And I was like, will you tell her who I am so she'll let me in my room? And so he does. And so a security guy who's already shown up now.
Yeah.
Because there's a naked guy with pizza boxes standing in the lobby. So security guy shows up and he said, yeah, come on, man, we'll get you in your room. So get me up there. And they still want to see my ID, by the way. So got up there, showed him my ID. It's all good. And so I go in there, I slip on a pair of shorts, and I think, okay, I'm going to walk over to Boomer's room. I make sure I have my room key this time, And so I walk over there and I knock on his door, and he is laughing, y'all. He is doubled over. He's laughing so hard. And I was like, I'm glad you're having a good time. He said, I told you one of these days you was going to need something from me, and I was going to remember this moment right here. And payback is what it is.
It happened right then.
I said, well, you're right. You're right. I had that coming. But to prove there's no hard feelings here, have a beer. So, this old Milwaukee don't smell right. Now, none of that is true.
Yeah.
Incidentally, not for me and Boomer. Actually, I heard Jeff Foxworthy tell me. And it was Jeff Foxworthy told that story about him and Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah.
And, so, which I believe it. I do believe every bit of that happened.
I do believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
But so I just, when I heard that today, I was like, here we go.
Here we go.
I'm good. I've got that. I'm going to tell that one on Boomer.
It didn't happen, but it very well could have.
It could have. Yes. Now,
some things go left unsaid, and some things probably similar to that. Nobody was naked. Nobody was ever naked. But we've had some very interesting things happen on football trips.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have.
We've had, and not by us. We've had some people that called other people names, derogatory names in their restaurant, a barbecue restaurant.
Yes.
In Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
Give you any?
By the way, I talked to Steve Harrell yesterday.
Oh, did you?
He's gonna come on the show with us here in a couple weeks.
Oh, we're gonna Zoom him or
something?
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
And he said, by the way, I was not on that trip with y'all with the state troopers, and you asked him.
No, he wasn't on that trip.
Well, who was in the back seat?
It was just me and you. There was nobody in the back seat. Unless it was that little demon girl from Minden that you kept seeing.
That little girl ghost.
She kept following me around.
So
no, there was.
I totally had a Mandela effect. I swear, there was somebody.
Now, he was with us at Pine Bluff at the barbecue place.
Yes, he was definitely with us because we talked about that.
Yeah.
And and then he told me. So one time, Boomer wasn't on this trip. It was me and Steve and our engineer, Stephen Gay, rest in peace, and Nick Johnson, who ran the South Arkansas Leader at the time. And we had went to, I guess we went to a Razorback football game or a Junction City playoff game.
Okay.
But we were in Little Rock. And we get ready to leave, and we're hungry, so we're going to stop and get something to eat. So I pull up at a Red Lobster.
Okay.
And everybody seems to be pretty excited about going into Red Lobster.
I thought this was the Pancake House story, but
stick with me.
Okay, I'm listening.
We go to get out to go in the Red Lobster, and Stephen Gay, our engineer, says, I'm not going. I don't eat seafood. What? It's not seafood. It's Red Lobster. He said, I don't eat anything that swims in its own toilet. Those are his words.
Yeah.
Fine. We all pile back up.
Jump back in.
We drive around the corner over to the IHOP.
Yeah. Okay.
We go in the IHOP, and our waiter, if I'm lying, I'm dying.
Handheld to there.
Handheld to the Lord right now, I'm telling you. Our waiter, he had lip gloss on. He said, hello, my name is Ruben.
Ruben, that's it.
I will be your waiter on tonight.
Yes.
And so he takes our order. Incidentally, Stephen Gay, who wouldn't eat something that swims in its own toilet, ordered eggs. And Steve Harrell was like, I have bad news for you, buddy. You want to know where that came from?
Yeah. Hey, I think the next thing that comes out of that chicken's butt, I'm going to eat it.
We'll scramble it up and eat it. So, anyway, we're having a little fun with Ruben, our waiter on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, he's like, so y'all ready to order? Yes. And, Stephen Gay orders eggs, and we all looked mean at him because he wouldn't let us eat a Red Lobster.
Yeah.
And everybody orders, and I said, Ruben, tell you what, I want some chicken and waffles. Honest to God, this was it.
You can't have that.
We ain't got that here. I said, Ruben, y'all got chicken, don't you?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. I said, y'all make waffles, don't you? Mm-hmm. There's got to be one brother back there in the kitchen, Ruben. You go back there and talk to him and tell him, make me some chicken and waffles. I do not go in that kitchen. There's nothing in there but Mexicans, and somebody will get stabbed.
He would not.
I swear.
If he could not put it in on the computer,
he was not going to
order. He's not going to the kitchen.
I swear on everything that is holy.
That happened.
I
know. I wish I'd have been on that trip. Y'all have told it so many times. I placed myself there.
You could visualize it. Yeah.
Metaphysically. Woo.
Is that who owns Facebook?
That guy.
Yeah. Metaphysically.
Yeah.
So we definitely had some adventures.
Mm-hmm.
The guy. We'll let Steve tell that story about the guy yelling the racial epithets at the barbecue place.
But
in Pine Bluff,
everywhere we go, everywhere we've been, you have to drive places.
Yeah.
And if you've driven around our state, if you're not from here, if you're not from Arkansas or have ever driven in rural parts of the country, you just don't understand how people drive.
Mm-hmm.
And, almost on a daily basis, I go home and tell my wife something that happened to me while I'm driving.
Yeah.
And she says, Troy, why does all this happen to you? I said, you just come ride with me. I said, we don't have to go on a big, long trip. I said, we can go down to Oriental Gardens and turn around and come back down Northwest Avenue and just watch. Just watch what happens in front of me. And crazy will happen in front of me.
Every time.
It happened, and you've been with me.
Yes.
Or I've been with you.
Yes.
And crazy things happen. People do crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, coming to Main Street Pizza just a while ago, I'm coming down Madison.
Mm-hmm.
All right? I'm heading south on Madison, and I get to the corner of Madison and Faulkner. Okay?
Which is the next intersection past Champenois.
Yes.
Headed south. Okay.
Young's Funeral Home. I'm coming south. I'm at the corner.
You're looking at HealthWorks.
I'm looking at HealthWorks.
Okay.
Okay, so Madison makes a little jog there.
Yes.
It's not straight.
It's a four-way, but it kind of does a...
Yeah, it kind of does that. Madison is offset. All right. So when I get there, there's a car on my right on Jackson Street heading east down Faulkner, and there's a car on Madison heading north. Okay. So that car is going straight, basically.
Yeah.
So it has its left turn blinker on. So they have their left turn blinker on, and they go straight. I said, there it is. There's crazy right in front of me. So the car to my right takes off. It's their turn, and it goes. Well, the car behind the other car that had their left blinker on Now he, she, whatever, is at the intersection. They put a left blinker on, and it's their turn to go. And they go straight right up next to me. And all I'm wanting to do is turn right, to head back towards Old Murphy First Financial Building.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at them like, why do you have your left turn blinker on when you're going straight? What are you going to do when you want to turn left? What you going to blink it, double blink it or something? And I'm telling you, Martha says, Troy, you let little things bother you too much.
I have to agree. I think the craziest thing was that you encountered 2 people in El Dorado who used a blinker.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part.
Yeah, but it was an indiscriminate blinker. Or that's not the word. It was
incorrect.
Incorrect blinker. What are you going to do if you really want to turn left when you're going straight?
I tell you where it's confusing to me. This is the one that gets me. So if you leave City Hall, you drive past the Mertiel House, past the scrub shop,
okay,
and you're headed down towards Dr. Robert Kinslow, and down there, and then it makes that big turn there. That's Oak Street.
Oak Street, yeah,
and it makes that big turn, and now you're looking at the hospital. You're facing direction of the hospital.
Yeah.
But when you're coming from the other way, like you come into the hospital, you want to go to City Hall or to the scrub shop, you get up there and the road goes straight. But Oak makes a big left turn.
Yeah.
And you don't put your blinker on to do that,
no.
Even though there's a car sitting over there that's wanting to come out.
Yeah, but it's the street's turning.
Yeah. But that's still one that gets me. That's one of those that,
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you the other one is the turn lane on the avenue as a feeder lane.
No, it is a turning lane.
Oh, man, people do
not
that.
Not an on-ramp.
It's not an on-ramp. It's not, So, crazy. I get it. We're in South Arkansas. Hey, I had a friend when I was in Oklahoma that he lived in a little town called Mangum, and he was from. And everybody knew when his daddy was coming to town because he didn't stop at anything. Wes would tell me, he says, look, everybody knew what my daddy drove and when he was going to come to town, and they knew he wasn't stopping for a red light or a stop sign or nothing, so they just knew. So people in South Arkansas, even though there's a lot of craziness, and what I'm boiling this all down to, and we're trying to do service for South Arkansas now and in the future because we're fixing to have some traffic circles. I'm going to get selling tickets to the traffic circle when that comes.
I think one of the great ways to raise funds for the city would be to put bleachers around those traffic circles and sell admission tickets. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be fun.
Because here's the deal. Let me tell you, folks, they've got one in Homer. Now, if Homer can do it, El Dorado can do it. All you have to do.
But can they really do it in Homer?
Okay.
Because I've seen tracks through the top of it.
Yeah, well, that's people that are, they're coming from that bar up on the hill up there between Homer and Minden. All you got to do is look left.
Yes.
You yield to the person coming from your left and just drive around the circle. If there's someone coming from your left, you let them go.
Yeah.
And the person to your right, you ain't got to stop for them, but you got to watch them though.
Yeah, you got to watch
them. They may not know. Yield to the left person.
Correct.
So we're going to have to the community college is going to have some courses or out at the we're going to have to teach people how to do this because it's not going to be a pretty thing. It may not happen in my lifetime. I know I-69 is not going to happen, but I'm pretty sure that the traffic circle is going to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah. Well, I tend to agree. I think it's going to be
chaotic at best.
A fantastical observation post to just watch. I love going to the mall just to watch people.
You know what? We're going to get a new. Here's what we can do, Sandy. There's going to be a new. Did I bump it?
Yeah.
There's going to be a new baseball stadium right at that corner.
Right there.
So you can go and watch the baseball game, watch the Stars play, and turn around and watch the traffic circle in between innings.
That's right.
Man, we're going to do that.
And now for your third inning entertainment, everyone turn around in
your seats and
look out at Hillsboro and West Avenue.
Oh, look at that Impala.
Yeah. Here comes a bouncing car. Let's see what happens.
Oh, my word. We've got it figured out.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be so much fun. Hey, that does it for this week's episode of Off the Back Porch. We really do appreciate you being part of the show with us today. We appreciate all of our sponsors and ask you to go by and visit with them and tell them thank you for helping bring Off the Back Porch to you and to your computer. Until next week, God bless.